The Saint Who Loved the Forgotten, the Quiet Fire of Saint Joseph Marchand. Sometimes holiness doesn't look like miracles or dramatic conversions. Sometimes holiness looks like a man walking quietly into danger, choosing love over safety, and whispering hope into places the world refused to even look at. Tonight, I want to tell you the story of a missionary few people know. A man whose footsteps were soft, but whose courage echoed louder than fear. A man who believed that every soul, even the hidden, the poor, the unwanted, deserved to be seen. This is the story of Saint Joseph Marchand, a missionary to Vietnam, a priest of the Paris Foreign Missions, and a witness whose life still burns like a candle in the dark. The year was 1833. The humid winds along the coast of Vietnam carried with them a strange mixture: the smell of the sea, the crispness of rain, and the quiet tension of persecution that hung over the Christian communities. Into this world stepped Joseph Marchand, a young French priest with gentle eyes, slender hands, and a heart that carried more determination than his body ever seemed capable of. For him, Vietnam was not just a mission field. It was a promise he whispered to God long before he boarded the ship. "Send me where your love is most forgotten." When Father Marchand arrived, he found believers hiding in the shadows, families who passed the faith quietly to their children, catechists who travelled at night to avoid soldiers, and priests who celebrated Mass in bamboo huts lit only by oil lamps. He did not enter with fanfare. He entered with listening. He learned the language not from books, but from sitting with fishermen on the riverbanks, from children running barefoot between rice paddies, from mothers who clutched rosaries woven from simple string. Through every lesson, he realized something. Christianity in this land was not fragile. It was rooted, but it was also hunted. Soldiers patrolled villages. Orders were given to arrest priests, burn religious items, and punish families who dared to follow Christ. And yet, Joseph stayed, because love kept him there. One night, in a remote village near Quang Tri, Joseph received news that would change his life forever. A catechist burst into the hut where Joseph was preparing for Mass. "Father," he whispered urgently, "they found the bishop. He's imprisoned. They're searching for priests. You must hide." Joseph paused. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of choice. He could run. He could escape, sail back to France, and no one would blame him. But Joseph knew the truth. How could he leave when his people could not? How could he abandon those whose faith made them targets? He stayed. For months, soldiers searched, questioned villagers, even offered rewards for information. Rumors grew. A foreign priest was still in hiding, still preaching, still celebrating Mass. Joseph moved from house to house, village to village. He slept in rice barns, in tiny attics, under wooden floors. And wherever he went, people welcomed him like family. It wasn't because he was foreign. It was because he was theirs, the shepherd who refused to flee. But persecution intensifies when hope refuses to die. By 1835, Joseph was discovered, arrested, and brought to prison. His cell was dark, cramped, and thick with humidity. Iron chains dug into his wrists and ankles. Food was scarce. Sleep was a luxury stolen by mosquitoes and the sound of distant cries from other prisoners. Yet, witnesses say he remained peaceful. He prayed for hours. He sang hymns softly so frightened prisoners could hear a melody of hope. He whispered blessings through the bamboo bars. One guard later testified, "He looked at us not with anger, but with compassion, as if we were the ones imprisoned." And that compassion became his final testimony. When the king demanded he renounce the faith, Joseph responded gently, "I cannot deny the one who gave everything for me." There was no anger in his voice, only conviction, calm, steady, radiant. The punishment was death. On November 30th, 1835, Joseph Marchand was led through the streets. People whispered prayers as he passed. Some wept silently. Mothers held their children close, whispering, "Look at him. This is a man who loved God." Joseph's final words were simple. "Lord, receive me, and bless this land I have loved." And in the quiet moments before his execution, something extraordinary happened. A soldier later wrote, "He smiled, not with pride, not with defiance, but with peace, a peace we could not understand." His sacrifice became a seed that would blossom into a church that still thrives today. Joseph Marchand did not perform spectacular miracles. He did not write books. He did not lead armies. He simply loved. And that love was strong enough to conquer fear. What makes his story powerful is not the tragedy. It's the tenderness. Holiness in Joseph's life was made of small acts, a quiet presence, a willingness to stand with the weak, a love that stayed even when safety disappeared, a courage that did not roar, but whispered, "Here I am, Lord." His life reminds us, you don't need to be loud to be brave. You don't need fame to change lives. You don't need power to make the gospel shine. Sometimes the holiest people are the ones who simply refuse to abandon love. As you finish listening tonight, I invite you to remember this. Courage often looks like choosing compassion when fear is easier. Faith often looks like staying when walking away would hurt less. Holiness often looks like showing up, again and again, for the people God places before you. St. Joseph Marchand walked into a land where being Christian meant risking everything. And yet, he stayed out of love. A love that still burns, still inspires, still calls us deeper. So tonight, ask the Lord, where are you inviting me to stay a little longer, love a little deeper, and trust a little more? And if your heart desires it, whisper a prayer. St. Joseph Marchand, help me love with courage, serve with tenderness, and stand with Christ, no matter the cost. May his quiet fire become your light, and may your life, like his, tell a story of love stronger than fear. Amen.